Hi and welcome again, it's Peter Vaughan talking about a particular number which relates to criminals. Now I'm dedicating this particular clip here as a prelude to looking at what I'm going to tell you about the criminal type, or those types of people who end up inside jails and that sort of thing. Now I've got over here, prisons contain a group or a quality of people. Now over the years of my studying people who have committed crime, the murderers, the pedophiles, etc., this number comes up so often. It's the number that I've located as being the real dangerous, the type that would be vicious, nasty, and the gang and the killers, etc. So in looking at that, I want to associate that number with a few of the other terms I've put on the board here for the moment. But to take it a step further, although prisons contain 8 type people and 11 types. Now the number 11 here I've got in the different colour because the 11 itself is the cunning or the clever person. These are the ones that really do work out the skillful crime, almost the one who's contemplated it very, very well and executed it and gets away with it, compared to the straight out bully here. This person is the power person. Get in their way and they'll just steamroll you out of the way from them anyway. They're tough and nasty. Now, if I come back over here and said, well, let's look at the word jail. Now, I've got G-A-O-L here as opposed to J-A-I-L, which is the Americanized term. This is the original spelling, and it was taken from here through to America, but pronounced J-A-I-L. But the word jail, the original one here, the values of those letters sum to the number 8. So we've got most people in prison have this number. But here's a number itself that relates to the word that relates to where they're contained. When somebody is sentenced, that word sums up to 8 as well. The word criminal adds up to the number 16. Now this is a bit different because 16 here and 16 here with the word murder, apart from the word kill, which also adds to 8, this number 16 has a lot to identify with people who are really troubled in life. Now I'm just going to come over to this side and take those two over to here and show you that when I'm looking at these 4 numbers I've got here, I call these the codes of collapse. And these codes that are identified relate to people who have a series of events leading up to a conclusion. The number 11, your clever, cunning types. 13, most people are killed on, die on, have a major serious death on, or an event. The 16, these are the people who learn lessons or it's a very difficult time for them, and people with that number in their name generally end up having a very troubled life. And the 9. So 11, 13, 16 and 9, I call these my codes of collapse because they have an awful lot to do with the way in which a series of events concludes with the 9. And it flows in a chart. Interestingly enough here too, the word brain also adds to the number 8, as does the word think add to the number 8. And with psychology or psychiatry, the word psych adds to the number 8. I find it interesting that each of these terms here relate to the same number, and they are power numbers. So jail, and somebody who is sentenced seem to feel the people that belong in this house, the prison, the jail. But the criminal and the murderer, these people have had troubled lives, and those words therefore identify them quite nicely. So when somebody does kill is also the 8 number. These are very, very strong numbers. The one thing about the number 8 is that 8 is always depicted as basically 2 circles, one above the other. It is the only number, apart from my drawing, which has no beginning and no end. It's completely ongoing. The above and the below areas here relate to mind over matter, or you've got cause and effect. You've got yin and yang. They're all this balanced up thing. And if somebody has a very they're more fleshed out in the physical world, the matter side here, and they have a very small intellect, this person therefore is more motivated by worldly things. They want the things that they can see and touch and grab. If we were to reverse that, and so we had a very large up and a small below, this person is so off with the fairies that their minds are where they think the world exists in, and their feet basically are off the ground. They've lost the plot. So you can have a person who becomes so mentally imbalanced here and out of touch with reality that they can also go off the deep end. Hence making these people very, very forceful and strong indeed. Now most of our prisons are filled with people like that. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to put up a couple of names of murderers. These murderers have done heinous crimes. They have eaten people, murdered families, etc. So I'll just cover that. I'll take this off the board here and then I'll just put a name up so we can look at it, and I'll carry on. Okay, I've put up the name here of a guy called Albert Fish. Now he was known as Albert Fish in the records. He was actually born as Hamilton Fish. Now when this kid's father died at age 5, I think it was, he was orphaned by his mother and put into an orphanage, and she pulled him out again at about age 9. He was inside there, he was harassed, he was given a very, very hard time by the other kids, so he changed his name from Hamilton to Albert. The difference between Hamilton and Albert, if you look at this here, Hamilton is one of the 3 or the 4 numbers I talked about being the codes of collapse. Number 11 is what it adds up to. But Albert up here, there's another special thing with this, because Albert itself relates to the number 22, not just 4. It reduces to that. This is called a master number, and it's very, very sensitive and very, very unstable, especially with the first letter being A. The letter A at the beginning of a person's name makes them very changeable, very sensitive and very active. So they're quite a reactive type person. A person who's got a lot of emotion tied up with their name. So Albert Fish, he was very much an individual, and Hamilton down here, this name which gave him this clever or cunning or weird sort of a mind. I mentioned over here before on this side about the number 11. So here's this number 11 here being this cunning and conniving type number. When you bring these two together, Hamilton Fish, as he was born as, you get the number 8. Here's the strong criminal type number here. But what is it that he did? Well, he was proven to have at least had a record exceeding 100 rapes. He killed, he says himself, in every state of America when he was captured and finally incarcerated. He ate his victims, children. If you do research this man's name, you'll find that he was abducting children, little kids, 4-year-olds and more, and he would kill them and eat them. And down here, he got the electric chair. Now I put a smiley face there. Something you don't know about this character unless you research him. He used to self-inflict wounds upon himself. What he had was needles and pins, and he'd stick them in his body, he'd stick them all over himself. He embedded them. He even would do things with his anal passage by sticking rags up there and setting fire to them. The guy was really, really nuts. He's off the deep end. When they said that they were going to electrocute him, he relished the idea. He loved the idea. And the strange thing was that when they did put him in the chair and they threw the switch, it blew the fuse basically, because he had so much metal in his body from pins and needles throughout of his body, it short-circuited the charge. Then he got done proper straight after that. So he died, and he was this 8th character. Now I'm going to put up another fellow who is another criminal that I just dug out of a book. I'll show you the name of the book in a moment, so we'll have a look at that. But that's the name, Hamilton Fish's chart there, so you can see his name at the top, and you can see the charting I've done on it. This is what my charts look like. So criminology, it's an amazing study. If you want to know more, come on in. And as promised, what I've got here is John Emil List. Now, when you're looking at this particular person's name, his first name was John. This comes back to that cunning side, that murderous, intently creepy side. Now, I've mentioned elsewhere, and I'm going to be doing a bit more work on it, but John is the highest achieving businessman's name in the world. It also ranks the highest in the mass murderers list, and John also ranks the highest in the paedophile list. So if your name's John, it doesn't mean that you're succeeding in all of these areas, be it good or bad, because of the name's popularity. James is more popular than John, but James is right down the bottom of the list of these crimes. So John has a lot to do with a person who is able to be a very successful criminal. But if we look at John List, as that's what he was called, his called name was, John List is this 2 and this is 6 added up. So you're getting the number 8 there. Now, he was also born on the 17th, which is another 8 number here as well. The vowels in his name, in John is 6, and in Emil is 5, and in List is 9. When doing quick numerology, because I could go into this a lot deeper, 5 and 6 is 11, but 9 is 20, which also reduces to 2. But if you were to go into that in a lot more depth, you'll find that the 11 comes out yet again in another format. Now, I've also put up on this board here, apart from the 8s that I've got in his name, the end of his name adds up to number 7. And there's this 7 down here, one of the codes. I'm saying it's 16, but when you start to look at where the 7 comes from, this is a summed total. And numerologically speaking, you'll find that that comes to the 7 area, which is the same as what this is relating to when you're going through these codes when they're laid out formally. Coming back over here, John is a 2 name, the 11-2 name. So is Hamilton when I spoke about Albert Fish. There's the 11-2 there. The name Dennis is an 11-2. The name Andrew is an 11-2. All these people are very clever in their own way. And if you look at some of these people, you'll find that many of these people may well be accountants or people who work in a very specialised field. So the 2 or 11-2 doesn't always mean a murderer or someone with criminal intent. It just means that they're very clever, detailed and cunning people. It relates on the person having a decent sort of an upbringing. If you'd like your own numerology reading, go to www.petervaughan.net. I'm extending this series of YouTube seminars because they're seeming to be very popular in me bringing this out. I haven't done this before, not to this degree, and I'm certainly going to be doing a lot more, so you can encourage or be encouraged to find out more about your life and what's going on, what's coming up ahead, because I can look ahead and predict probable futures for you. I have on another board which is over here, which you can't see yet, but I'm going to be talking about the West Memphis 3. This is the infamous murders of 3 young boys, 3 8-year-old boys who were killed. The people who were accused of the crimes have been released from prison only a couple of months ago because they were found not to be guilty, but to some degree they are guilty by the way in which they were released from prison. And it's an amazing story. So I'll talk about that in some sections coming up shortly, and I'm sure that you'll find this most interesting because I think I've identified the real murderer, but I can't go into that just yet. That'll be in the next set of seminars that I'm going to be following along from. Okay, so I'll leave this here now, and I'll see you again shortly. Thanks for listening, Peter Vaughan, and don't forget to go to my site.